Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. Today's video, we are in TryHackMe. This is the SOC Level 1 learning path, SIEM Triage for SOC module, log analysis with SIEM room. Learn how SIEM solutions can be used to detect and analyze malicious behavior. Let's see what we're cooking with today. Introduction. Any modern SOC analyst must be able to effectively use a SIEM to analyze and correlate logs while quickly identifying malicious activity and compromised assets. Equally important is understanding the different data sources behind the logs and how each one helps you see the full picture. Learning objectives. Discover various data sources that are ingested into a SIEM. Understand the importance of data correlation. Learn the value of Windows, Linux, web, and network logs during investigation. Practice analyzing malicious behavior. Room prerequisites. It is suggested to complete the following rooms. First, before proceeding, introduction to SIEM, Windows logging capabilities, cyber kill chain, and sysmon. Or check out my channel for information or videos related to these particular rooms. Lab access. Before proceeding, start the lab by clicking the Start Lab Machine button, which I've already done. You will then have access to the Splunk web interface. Nice. To access Splunk, please follow this link. So whatever your link is, I have it opened up in another tab. Please wait 4 to 5 minutes for Splunk interface to launch. Use Splunk's all-time range to search the indexes where logs are stored for each practical exercise are present in each task. Nice. So let's just flip up here real quick, and we're going to change this to all time just to get this ready to go. Awesome. Okay, it says let's go. And if you want to help support the channel, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know every time I upload to the channel. Without further delay, let's go ahead and dive into it. Task 2. Benefits of SIEM for analysts. SIEM solutions play a vital role in every security operations center and any SOC analyst's day-to-day life. Let's take a moment to understand why SIEM is so valuable and explore its key benefits for analysis. Centralization. One of the first things that makes SIEM so helpful for a SOC is centralization. Instead of checking logs in different places like network devices and cloud services, identity providers, and more, a SIEM allows you to gather all that data in one place. This means an analyst doesn't have to switch between systems during an investigation. Everything is available in a single solution, making their work much smoother and more efficient. Yes, it's that centralized location where all of your logs are going to be ingested in so that you can go out and do various different queries, searches, what have you, to carry out your investigation. Let's take an example. We have two SOC level 1 analysts, Ted and Emily. Ted works in a SOC with a SIEM solution, but Emily doesn't. Both analysts receive similar alerts at the same time. A suspicious spike in network activity, a malicious command was detected on a host. With a SIEM, Ted can investigate both alerts from a single platform. He has access to logs from the IPS, endpoints, and other systems all in one place, ready to be searched and analyzed. On the other hand, Emily has to log into each system separately, for example, the IPS and EDR. She must collect and review data manually from each one, while Ted quickly sees the bigger picture. Emily spends valuable time just gathering information. This highlights how centralized visibility through SIEM enables faster and more effective analysis. Correlation. Another core strength of SIEM is correlation, the ability to link separate events and piece them together like pieces of a puzzle to form a complete picture. Let's walk through a scenario. You receive an alert in your SIEM about internal network discovery activity. The only information you have is the IP address of the host performing the scan, nothing else. The alert comes from your IDS logs. That's not much to go on, is it? To make sense of it, you need to enrich the data, find out which device the IP belongs to, and who triggered the activity. And we have the correlation process here. So alert received, identity provider, user info, system logs, host info, network logs, IP address. Nice. You can check Windows event logs or sysmon by correlating this with the IDS alert and build context, who performed this activity, where, and possibly which tool was used. Piece by piece, the puzzle forms, helping you decide if the activity was malicious or just noise. Historical events. SIEM also allows you to look at past events, not just current activity. This helps you spot patterns or threats that may have started earlier but weren't noticed at the time. For instance, if you get an alert about an unusual login location for a user, you can look back at historical logs to see if he has logged in from the location or an IP before. This helps you identify patterns in their behavior and assess whether the activity is part of a malicious attempt or a legitimate action. Of course, these aren't all the benefits SIEM offers the SOC. There are many others, such as visualization, detection rules, and automation paths, which we'll cover partially later in this room. Awesome. So we went over quite a bit of what the SIEM can do and what the uses you can have with it, right? So anyway, we have a couple questions here, so go ahead and pause the video and try to answer the question yourself, then come back to the video, and then we will proceed. Let's take a look at these questions. What is the process of linking data from multiple sources to identify relationships between individual events called? Well, that's going to be correlation. You're going to correlate those events to try to figure out that bigger picture and piece together the puzzle. What is the process of collecting and storing log data from multiple systems and sources into a single unified location for easier analysis called? Oh, well, that's going to be centralization. That's why you send all those various different logs to one centralized location, which is going to be your SIEM, all right? And all those data sources are going to be sending things into the SIEM so that you can go and do your correlation, your searches, queries, what have you. Task number 3, log sources overview. Let's explore the log sources that an analyst can come across in SIEM and the value they can provide to the analyst. Every organization has different types of resources from which logs can be collected into the SIEM, such as workstations, servers, network devices, identity providers, cloud services, various applications, and more. It can be helpful to think of this as a tree, where the organization is the tree itself, and the roots represent these resources that make up this tree. While these components are often unique to each organization, they all come together to form a logical structure. Logs from all or just a few of these resources are sent to the SIEM platform, where the analyst can use them for analysis and correlation events. Host-based log sources. Host-based log sources come from individual devices within the organization, such as workstations and servers. Every organization relies on workstations for employees to perform their duties, and servers serving different purposes, such as web servers, SQL servers, DNS servers, and more. Typically, we monitor this type of behavior from systems. Looks like a graphic of what they're talking about here. Detection of brute force attempts and unusual success logins, authentication, detection of account manipulation used for persistence or privilege escalation, account management, detection of malicious executable and script execution attempts, process auditing, detection of unauthorized access to sensitive information, object access, and they have a couple others listed here, system events, policy changes, and it's all under this activity monitoring. Okay. From all these machines, a significant amount of data is sent to the SIEM for monitoring. This is not surprising, as nearly every attack will involve hosts in some way. Therefore, the data from these devices is invaluable during an investigation. We will dive deeper later into what can be discovered from this data, network-based log sources. Collect data from network devices such as firewalls, routers, IDS, IPS, and other systems. These devices play a critical role in monitoring traffic and connections across the network. So let's look at this one here. Detection of suspicious external connections to unusual ports, firewall logs, detection of port scanning, IDS/IPS logs, detection of unexpected login attempts and brute forces, VPN logs. See a few others listed here, proxy server logs, DNS logs, and router logs. Just as the roots of a tree connect and support these branches, network logs give analysts visibility into how devices are communicating with each other. These logs can provide valuable insights when correlating data from different sources, making them a crucial part of a complete picture. Web-based log sources, and of course, almost every organization has its own web application, and logs from it are also sent to the SIEM. It's through web vulnerabilities that attackers often gain access to an organization's environment, so monitoring of web events is an essential part of every analyst's role in a SOC environment day by day. So let's take a look at this. Detection of web shell exploitation and web server logs, detection of SQL injection attempts, WAF logs, and they have CDN logs, load balancer logs, web app logs, and API gateway logs. And you want to get those web app logs or application logs so you can see if there's any errors that have been generated. Sometimes you may even see payload information in those logs, right? Let's see here. In addition to the above mentioned data sources, SIEM also collects logs from cloud platforms such as AWS and Azure, various identity providers like Entra ID, and third-party applications. However, this is beyond the scope of this room, so we'll leave it for future discussions. However, this task will touch upon two other important topics such as time pitfalls and normalization in SIEM. Time pitfalls. One common challenge analysts face when working in SIEM is time, specifically how time is recorded across different log sources. Logs can come from systems in different time zones, so some can be in UTC, others in local time, and some may not include a time zone at all. It's important to understand that your local time can be different from the time set in the SIEM. Absolutely true. Let's say you're working in UTC 2, but the logs in Splunk SIEM are normalized to UTC plus 2. If it's 5 p.m. for you, those same logs might appear as 9 p.m. in Splunk. That doesn't mean the logs are ingested 4 hours late. It's just a difference in time settings. So always be aware of which time zones you're dealing with when analyzing events. It can make all the difference in understanding what really happened and when. Logs normalization. Different logs come in various formats. Some are in JSON and others in XML or even plain text. Each system logs events in its own way using different field names and structures. That's where normalization comes in. The idea is to convert all these formats into a single consistent structure so that logs are easier to work with. Analysts can simply view everything in one standard way inside the SIEM. This makes searching, filtering, and linking events much easier. Without normalization, every log source would feel like solving an entirely different puzzle. Absolutely true, and that's very important here. Parsing and like log normalization, things like that. Because if it's not done correctly or if something's jacked up in there, it can greatly affect the way you search inside of your SIEM. All right, so once again, we have some questions here, so go ahead and pause the video, try to answer them yourself, come back to the video, and then we will proceed forward. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos. You can see here over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review, make it more convenient for you. Anyway, happy defending, happy hacking. Enjoy the video. What is the process of converting logs from different formats into a single format for easier analysis in a SIEM? That's going to be normalization. And remember to take into consideration the time zone issues, okay? So make sure your time zones are matching or be aware of the time zone issues. Which log source type can be used to detect the execution of a malicious script? That's going to be host-based, as we learned about earlier. Task number 4, Windows logs. When using a SIEM to analyze Windows logs, we usually talk about two main data sources, WinEvent and Sysmon. The second one must be installed and configured separately to start receiving logs. However, combining these two data sources actually provides clear visibility for analyzing activity, Sysmon and Windows event logs. Let's briefly look at each of them. First one up is Sysmon. An additional, and in some cases even primary log source of Windows is Sysmon. It's an incredibly powerful place that logs a wide range of activity types, providing a high level of visibility during analysis. Using Sysmon logs, an analyst can observe a variety of activity types that provide deep visibility into system behavior. It helps identify malicious process execution, network connections, possible process injection, registry changes, and file creation, among other activities. Malicious process execution. Let's consider a situation where you've received an alert about the execution of a suspicious encoded PowerShell command. You now need to analyze activity. How would you use a SIEM in this case? Let's try using a Splunk query to see what useful information we could find in the logs using Splunk SIEM. Let's write a search that detects launched processes event code equals 1 related to PowerShell that include the encoded command PowerShell argument, which is this here. So we are going to just copy and paste this. Index equals WinEvent. So we're looking at Windows event logs, event code 1, PowerShell. See the rest there. That looks like they're putting it into a table, and then in that table you're gonna have time, computer name, parent user, parent image, parent command line, image, and command line. So let's just plug this in real quick and see what it does while that's loading. Let's continue on. In this example, we detected that on host winhost 05, a malicious update config.js file was executed from C user's public directory, which resulted in cmd.exe launching PowerShell with an encoded command. Note the activities from the following examples will not be visible in Splunk instance. It only contains logs for your practical task. Oh, okay. Well, There you go. So that's why we have 0 there. All right. Anyway, so if you were to do this, this is an example of what it would look like here. So they have it out in that table, like I was explaining, those different columns, right? So we can see all that here. 1, victim host. We got number 2 here, compromised user account. Number 3, launch suspicious JavaScript script here, right? And then we have number 4, encoded PowerShell execution right there in the command line. Very cool. Suspicious network connection. This story didn't end here or in there, as just a few minutes later we received another alert from WinHost05, this time about a suspicious network connection. Try to determine what happened using sysmon logs. To do this, we will search for event code 3, which identifies network connections and filter by the host WinHost05, since that is where the activity originated. Okay. So I guess they have both of those in the just this index win event, right? They got the win event logs and also sysmon logs in this index here. Okay, that explains it. So once again, there's a table right here, and then there's the columns. As shown in the image below, a suspicious connection was initiated by the suspicious process ppn423.exe from the temp folder, targeting the unusual port of 9999 on IP address .2. We also recommend checking this IP on threat intelligent platforms. So if we were to do that, we can see it here. Victim host, malicious process, established a network connection, victim IP address, destination malicious IP / possible C2, suspicious destination port, and then we have the protocol, network connection or network communication protocol there, which is TCP. All right. These are just two examples of when sysmon can be useful. In reality, there are many more other situations where these logs can help detect anomalies. Event logs. Windows event logs include a huge number of unique log files. While you're probably most familiar with the security system and application logs, in reality, the system contains over 200 different log channels beyond just those 3. So Windows security logs, the most commonly viewed and referenced logs are the security logs. But why is that the case? Let's break down why these logs are so important and what makes them essential for investigation. Analysts can detect in security logs activities such as user authentication attempts, account creation or modification, access to files and registry keys, process execution, system restarts or log clearing, and changes to audits or security policies. We hope you will still remember our examples from WinHost05 host, or with the WinHost05 host. A SOC analyst started a new shift and was handed information about suspicious activity on this host. Within just a couple of hours, another alert came in from the same machine, this time about a user account creation. It's just the attacker is still present on the host. We need to review the security logs to detect what's happening and share this information with our SOC level 2 analyst. And here's the query for that, or the search for that here, event code 4720 or event code 4722. Once again, putting it into that table format to make it easier to read. The attacker likely decided to create a persistence mechanism in the form of a backup user account, which was created and enabled by ted-admin on the host WinHost05. So here's what that looks like here. Okay, user account creation events right there, user account enabled event, victim host, compromise user performing activity, enable user account, create a user account, actions successfully completed. Nice. Windows system logs. These logs record events generated by the operating system and its core services. These help detect various events related to services, system level activity, and potential errors. These logs are an excellent place to look for potential persistence or privileged escalation attempts via services. Let's examine the activity on our compromised host, WinHost05, and try to identify anomalies. We will use two event codes, 7045 and 7036, which indicate service creation and service start/stop events. And here's what that query or search will look like here. From these search results, we can see that on the host, a service name user updates was created and started, which launches the malicious RNS yada yada.exe file from the temp directory under the system account. This is most likely a privileged escalation attempt, as we recall that the attacker previously only had access to the ted-admin account. Interesting there. Okay. And let's see here. Here's the example. So we have service created event, service started/stopped events, victim host, created service name, service executing user, malicious executable triggering on service start. Okay, then we have a message up here. Awesome. Okay. Let's continue on. In that task, we examine a number of important log sources for a SOC level 1 analyst and the value they can provide. Of course, there are many other logs that we can explore, or we will explore together in future rooms. Practice scenario. You are a SOC level 1 analyst on shift and have received an alert indicating a suspicious network connection using port 5678 on the WIN-105 host. Your task is to conduct an investigation and determine whether this activity is suspicious. The logs for this task are located in Splunk index task 4. Use the following query: index equals task 4. Nice. Okay. And then we have some questions, of course, to answer. So go ahead and pause the video and try to answer the questions yourself. And if you wanted an example of that here, just looking at the index, just type in that like that, and then you get enter or hit that search bar here, and you should get some results back. And then you can pivot off these fields over here to build out your query if you choose to do that. Okay. So good luck. All right, let's take a look here. Now, I have experience using Splunk and other SIEMs, things of that nature. So your queries may vary based on your experience level and what you learned in these other rooms. And some of these queries up here can be valuable as well. So you can pivot off some of these queries here or the information in them, like the tables and stuff like that. But anyway, so let's go ahead and take a look at these questions. Which IP address was the connection established with? We only have some information up here, port 5678. And then there's the host right there. So we have that right here. Index equals task 4. Computer name equals WIN-105. Okay, make sure you're set to all time. And then you have interesting fields over here. Okay, so go through here and sift through these fields and to determine which ones that you'll may need to look at here. And you can add those up here to your query. Like I said, your query may differ from mine, right? But you can go ahead and review these fields here to see if there's anything of value here, right? I already see some stuff in here that could be of interest. So if you go and take a look at maybe the parent user stuff, see what's in here. There's administrator, Ben Foster, system, right? Some interesting things there, possibly hashes right here. There's destination stuff here, and we already know that we're going to look at this particular host. So we click at directory as well, and temp, as we know, is a well-known one that gets abused by attackers and things of that nature, right? Downloads, we know the computer name. Okay, command line stuff here you can take a look at, right? So be sure to sift through these and determine which ones you want to use for your query. Like I said, it probably will vary for mine, but anyway, I'll show you how I did it. So anyway, after I looked at the fields over here, I went ahead and started to build out my other query. So I'm just going to copy and paste it over here, right? This was the first one I did. So let's see here. Did all that. All right, so destination port 5678, table UTC time, host, user, event type, event code, image, source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port, and message. And be sure to show all lines here so you can see other fields maybe you could possibly throw into your query and stuff like that. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. And then we need to get this first question here. Which IP was the connection established with? Okay, and my query turned up just this one here, 5678, and we can see that the IP is this 10.10.114.80. So that's going to be what we're looking for that one. So next question is, which process initiated this suspicious connection? And we can see that SharePoint.exe appears to be that process, and it's also in that temp directory, which we know that is commonly abused by threat actors. What is the MD5 hash of the malicious process from the previous question? So that's my next one here. So we know that we can pivot off SharePoint.exe possibly, right? At least that's what I did. So let's go and just plug that in here by itself, and then you can see some other events that may be related to this, right? Or see where else the SharePoint shows up at. And once again, you can take a look at these fields, okay? See if there's anything of interest in here. You can see right at the bat, it looks like a scheduled task here was created, right? Office 365 install, and that's actually the answer to the other question in here, down there. So Office install, right, for that one. But anyway, so go through here and review this information, so y'all get in the process here of how to build out your queries. Okay, we can see that down here as well. But anyway, so I pivoted off the SharePoint here to see if it showed up anywhere else, and it showed up in multiple places, we can see there. And then I came up with this query here that I'm going to copy and paste it over. Okay, paste this in here, enter. And once again, here's my table: UTC time, host, user, event type, event code, image, source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port, message, and hash. And we need to get the MD5 hash of the malicious process from the previous question. So for this SharePoint.exe, right? And as we're scrolling through here, you can just switch the times around as well if you want to go that way. Okay, so all I did was basically scroll down here. Okay, so I went down to the port in question. So the one we were looking at before, we know that 5678 is going to be the port that we're looking at according to this here, right? So that's what I pivot off of here. All right, so we identified that area. And if I just scroll back up a little bit here, you can see that it came from, it appears to be coming from this Chrome.exe, okay? And then I just went ahead and grabbed that MD5 hash, and I have it separated out over here in this hash column. So I went ahead and highlighted that, plugged it in, and there we go. And we can see it referenced here as well, Chrome.exe, target file name, downloads SharePoint.exe, right? And it misspelled SharePoint. It's got a capital I and some other things in there, so that's highly suspicious there. And it's also referenced in other things here. You can see it looks like it's being the download process here, right? So you have to go in and be sure to review these logs. Like this is what you do in the real world. You're going to go ahead and review what actually happened here. Where did this come from, right? You got to find the smoking gun, the point of origin, and it looks like you see a refer URL mentioned here, this gofile.io. So a lot of interesting things here that's been going on, right, as you go through and review these logs. So this wasn't one of the questions, but I'm just showing you all how you would typically probably go in and do an investigation in the actual real world here. But anyway, so we grabbed that one, grabbed the MD5 hash, plugged it in. Okay, I'm just going to hit Control F just to show you all that it is the correct one. So let me find it again. There it is. So MD5 right here, and then I have it separated out in this column here. So I'm going to just copy that over, and then of course get rid of that comma at the end. There, see. And also, you can check the hint here, and it also says this question requires a log correlation process, which we just did. Last one, what is the name of the scheduled task that was created on the system? Well, we already saw that earlier, Office install. And then you can check the hint here as well. If you get stuck, you need to look at the behavior after executing the malicious executable file. So, like I said, as you start scrolling down here to see the actual timeline and what actually occurred after the fact, before it, things of that nature, you'll come to find out that's what happened here. So if we go back up a little bit here, okay, so there we go, 5678, just following the timeline. Okay, just going down here, looking at this. So continue to scroll down here. It's mentioned several times, and then you can see that target file name is cmd.exe, so that's very interesting right there. Okay, you can see some other things mentioned here, and then it goes straight into the scheduled task.exe. Okay, then it says command line schedule task. You see create on log on, and then you can see inside here Office 365 install, right? And then it has the malicious file in question mentioned right there, and then also the file path and all that jazz. So there you go. Okay, you can see Ben Foster appears to be the user that's been compromised. Awesome. I love this stuff. Task number 5, we're going to talk about Linux logs. Task 5, Linux logs. When you're analyzing Linux systems in a SIEM, you'll often start by looking at two key log sources. First, you'll see auth.log, which tracks authentication-related activity, such as user logins and sudo usage, among other things. These logs are crucial for spotting failed logins, unauthorized access attempts, or privilege escalation. Next, you'll come across syslog, which captures general system level events. Here you can monitor service restarts, cron jobs, and background processes, all helpful when building timelines or understanding how the system behaves over time. These tools significantly improve visibility. Authentication logs are one of the most important sources when analyzing Linux systems in a SIEM. They help you understand how users interact with the system, especially regarding login attempts and privilege usage, unusual login activities. Move on to real scenarios and examine a situation in the SOC. As a SOC level 1 analyst, you have received an alert about an unusual SSH login to the Ubuntu username on the system. In this case, let's write a query to search for successful and failed login attempts to the system for the Ubuntu user. And we can see that here in this query, index equals Linux, source auth.log, Ubuntu process HD, search, accepted password, or failed password. There are 97 events, and the last ones show successful login attempts to the Ubuntu user. This can likely be classified as a successful brute force attack, an activity that should be escalated to level 2. From a learning perspective, let's take a look at what happened here, okay? So possible brute force attempts, you can see 97 events as explained earlier, successful logins to Ubuntu user from this .82 IP, failed logins to Ubuntu user from this .82 IP. Okay, so we can see that's the IP address in question that had targeted that particular account there, and looks like it was eventually able to gain access to it, as we can see there. So we see multiple failed login attempts here, failed, accepted password there. Awesome. Okay, so let's continue on. Privilege escalation behaviors. Attackers often need root access on a system to gain access to certain files and more. Let's see if, in our case, there are any signs of such activity. So once again, looking at the index Linux source equals auth.log, looking for SU, sort plus time. From the image below, it is clear that the attacker managed to gain access to the root account. How exactly this was achieved cannot be determined from the auth.log alone. Additional logs would be needed for that, okay? But this is what we're cooking with right now, just this current search query. Sudo su, command execution, successful root session initiated, and then confirmation of user switch to root. Okay. Interesting, very interesting there. All right. System logs are another essential source of visibility. They capture events related to service activity, system restarts, and crons, all useful for identifying unusual system behavior, often linked to persistence or privilege escalation attempts, persistent mechanisms. We hope you still remember our case in this task about the threat actor who successfully switched from Ubuntu to root. In this scenario, syslog can also be useful specifically for searching for activity related to persistence through cron jobs or services. So here's an example of that here. This time they're looking at syslog and then referencing cron and then searching Python, Perl, Ruby.sh, Bash, and C, which is netcat. We detected 3 interesting events. First, we can see that a suspicious PNR5433sw.sh file from the /temp folder is being executed via cron every 5 minutes. Next, there are clear signs of Perl reverse shell attempting to establish connection to this .12 IP on port 9999. Okay, so we can see right here with the reference here, execution of Perl reverse shell, suspicious file execution. It's in reverse order, so this is the latest one going out to the earliest time, it looks like. Okay, we can clearly see like this looks like reverse shell activity right there. Awesome stuff here. As mentioned earlier, in addition to the core data sources, it's very common to see tools like AuditD and OS Query used in real-world environments. These tools fall outside the scope of this room, so if you're interested in learning more about them, feel free to explore other related rooms available on our platform or check out my channel for information related to those. Practice scenario. You are a SOC Level 1 analyst on shift and have received an alert indicating possible persistence through the creation of a new remote-SSH user on an Ubuntu server. Your task is to dive into the logs and determine exactly what happened on the system. The logs for this task are located in Splunk index 5 using the following query. So this time index 5, not 4. Okay, so once again, that's how you build out your queries. You're going to take a look at what's in there, what available logs are in there. Okay. In the real world, you're probably not going to look at all time for these. You can look at like, past 15 minutes, 60 minutes, something like that. So you can just get those interesting fields to pivot off of so you can build out your query. Okay, it's like a similar process every time you do these investigations. Have 378 events, not bad here. So once again, go ahead and start reviewing what you have in here so you can build out your query. Okay, and try to get something that can assist you in your investigation there. You might even be able to use some of this information here to pivot off of and build out your query. So just take that into consideration. But anyway, there's questions there. You know what to do. Pause the video, try to answer them yourself, come back to the video, and then we will proceed forward. Good luck. All right, let's take a look at these questions. What was the timestamp of the remote SSH account creation? And this is the format we need to put it in. So we already know this is the account question we're looking for. Once again, go ahead and do a search on the index in question so you can see what logs you're working with, what kind of fields you can pivot off of, things of that nature. Also, there's this more field section here that you can take a look at too. They may have some interesting fields in here. they want to take a look at like this user field here, right? So we have Jack dash Brown, Ubuntu root, and remote dash SSH. So right off the bat, here's another one that's probably a compromised user or something like that. That would be my my suspicion here. But anyway, so let's take a look at this remote SSH account here. Appears to be only one entry that mentions it, right? So that's what I went with. And there is the time right there. They want to put it in this format. So just grab it out of here. And if you grab it out of here, be sure to remove this T. Otherwise, it's not going to fit in the answer box here. But 2025 -08 -12 09 52 57. Next one. Which user successfully escalated their privileges to root prior to the action from the first question? Okay. So trying to remember if I had an actual query for that one or if I just looked through there. I think I just pivoted off of that information, but here's one you can look at here, the SUE here. So that was referenced in this room earlier that you could use. So we already know remote.ssh is the one in question, right? So let's take a look at this here. And as we're going through and reviewing the timeline of events here of what happened, you can see Jack dash Brown is mentioned several times in here, right? As well as that remote dash SSH user. So there you go. You can just put them together by correlation, right? As you're reviewing these events here, all right? So let's see here. Close for root. And you can see Jack dash Brown is mentioned right there for the first time, looks like. And then you go through and just read what's going on here with it. Session closed, closed. It's mentioned again here, and then you can see user Ben Sue was mentioned, so that's very suspicious there, right? It says session open for user root, right? So it looks like they escalated privileges there to root. Then root's mentioned again, and then we can see that root is mentioned again down here, and you can see home Jack dash Brown user root, and you can see here command user add remote dash SSH. So they escalated privileges. This Jack Brown user escalated privileges to root, and then created this user called remote dash SSH. Okay. And next one is, from which IP address did the user from the previous question successfully log into the system? So you can use the information from a different one that we just saw in there, but you can also just do a general search on this Jack Brown user if you want to try to see if anything else comes up for it. So look at other events for it. So you can see all what they did in here. Okay, anything related to that particular user. You can see an IP address mentioned there. Set the password for it right there. So that's very suspicious there. I believe that was one of the questions it asked. Yeah, from which IP address did the user from the previous question successfully log into the system? Well, we saw that right there. Accept a password. You can also see failed attempts as well, which is going to be the next question, I believe. Yeah, how many failed login attempts occurred prior to the successful login? And once again, you can pivot off the information that we just learned about to build out your query, which is what I did here. You can actually get both of those answers by using this query here, or just reviewing what we just have here for that particular user, just going through here and just counting stuff. But if you want it to look nice and clean, you can do a query like this here. You can also put the table in there. I didn't do that, as you can see there, but you can build out your table and your little fancy columns and stuff like that if you want to go that route. But anyway, pretty much quick and dirty way of getting these getting the information you need here. Okay, so let's take a look here. We have 1 failed, 2, 3, 4 failed attempts before we get to the accepted one. This one threw me off here. Okay, I just ignored that this event here and just counted up these actual failed ones that said failed passwords in them right here without this repeated 2 times thing in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 failed attempts, and then finally on the 5th one was successful. Okay, so 4 is the answer for that one. Which port is the persistence mechanism configured to connect to? And once again, you can pivot off the information we learned earlier. I just went off of this cron here to get this one. And we have to look at the other logs. That sys log one is the one we're going to look at. Okay, hit enter here, and there we go. So as you're reviewing here, you can see this reverse shell. Okay, and then inside of here you can see the IP, and then you can see the port mentioned right there, and that's what I grabbed out of there. You can also just take a look at what's inside these sys logs, as you did with the auth logs, right, or the other logs in here, or just the index. Sift through here as well. Okay, there's there's not that many logs, but in the real world, you probably have like hundreds, thousands, a lot of logs to sift through. But you can correlate what you already have, right? You can go back and look at the timeline of events. So as you take a notes of the times, just go back and look at the time, and then all you have to do is go and search around that particular time, right? And then you can scroll down. You can see 10 o'clock here. You can see that mention as well, that reverse shell, and you just go back through this to build out your little timeline events if there's anything of interest in here, anything else of interest, I should say. Okay, now you can do that with this this particular log, or you can just do that with the index itself. But like I said, in the real world, you can have hundreds of thousands of logs in here, so you probably don't want to do that. But we're just using this as an example, as I'm showing you all how to do things inside of here. Okay, so we're done with that. Next one we're going to go into is task number 6, web application logs. Task 6, web application logs. Other important data sources for analysis include the web. Let's discuss them in more detail. Web log sources. Almost every organization has its own website and therefore a web server running it. Logs from these web servers are collected from Apache, Nginx, and other resources. The most useful for analysis are the access logs, where you can detect requests to website resources. These logs often contain signs of malicious activity such as scanning, DDoS attempts, various web-based attacks, and web shells. In addition, error logs can provide valuable insight, helping you understand the possible failures or issues like I was talking about earlier about the payload information. Let's explore how different types of malicious activity can be detected using web access logs. Brute force activity, my favorite. Imagine you are a SOC level 1 analyst on shift and you've just received an alert about a possible brute force attack targeting a WordPress login page. To investigate, we recommend starting by identifying the login page URL, example /wp-login.php, and filtering for post requests. Brute force activity involves many repeated attempts, so set a threshold to count greater than 25 during 5 minutes. Group the results by client IP to pinpoint the source of the activity. Other fields such as user agent can also provide useful context. Below is the ready query. So you could take a look at this and review it real quick. And all kinds of things in here. There's the time span of 5 minutes. There's the URI for the page here where counts greater than 25. And here's a table of what's going to display back in those columns. Okay. As a result, we can detect that in our example IP address of 167.172.41.141 made as many as 106 requests to the wp-login.php page. Interestingly, the user agent string shows as Hydra, a popular tool often used by attackers to perform brute force attacks, right? So you may not even get that lucky in the real world because you can change that user agent to anything you want, right? So this is just showing you the example, right? So domain under brute force attack right there, attacker IP, brute force utility, Hydra is mentioned there, and then login page that's being targeted right there, and then number of temps, and we can see the response status codes. Oh, there's a 200 in there and a 302 redirect. Interesting. Possible web shell. Shortly after you receive a second alert about possible web shell activity during your shift, to investigate potential web shell activity in Splunk, search for requests to script or executable file types such as .php, .asp, .jsp, or .xc, combined with post and get methods, and a status equals 200 response. Web shells are often generate a few suspicious requests in a short time frame, so set a threshold such as count greater than 2. Group the results by domain to identify pattern and review fields like client IP and user agent for attacker fingerprints. Below is the ready query here, so pretty much what they just explained here. Status 200, there's the URI path, and this is the file extensions they're looking for here. Post to get requests, okay. Client IP is mentioned here, count greater than 2, and then there's a table of everything here to make it nice and neat. As you can see in the results, we detect a variety of different URIs, but what caught our attention the most was the 505.php, which could be a web shell. This means we need to take a closer look at it in more detail here. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Target domain, upload, and access to web shell. Okay, you can see the get and post request there. Successful exploitation 200, right? Attacker IP. Once again, there's the user agent, but you don't see that it's not obvious, like we saw earlier. And then we see potential web shell, the file in question that looks suspicious here. Okay. DDoS activity. Your shift is almost over, but don't rush to close your laptop just yet. A new alert just came in, likely the last one for today, about a possible DDoS attack. When checking for signs of a potential DDoS in Splunk, look for status code 503, which can mean the server is overloaded. Review for huge request counts in a short time, for example, more than 100,000 in 10 minutes, filtered by IPs. Review the targeted domain, which user agent was used in the URI path to spot patterns or attacker fingerprints. Below is the ready query. What that looks like here, you can see the status 503, span 10 minutes, right? And you can see the rest there. And from this example, we can see that the resource was unavailable for the last 10 minutes and received more than 1.5 million requests, which confirms a possible DDoS attack. So let's take a look at this. Domain under DDoS attack, one of the DDoS IPs, target URI paths. You can see multiple comes up there. Request counts right there. And you can see service unavailable, 503 error. Okay. Practice scenario. You are a SOC level 1 analyst on shift and have received an alert indicating a spike in activity on the organization's web server. Your task is to dive into the logs and determine exactly what happened. The logs for this task are located in Splunk index 6. Use the following query. So as we've been doing earlier, take a look at what's in there so you can determine what information you can use. Okay. And then of course we got questions there. So let's just take a quick look at it here, and we can see that there's a little bit over 1,000 here. All right, so we can see WPS scan listed already, so that's already suspicious to me. Okay, once again, take a look at your interesting fields over here, and don't forget about more fields here. There could be something else in here that you could possibly use to your advantage. You got URI in here listed, right? There's that WP login page, and there's a ton right there. So it's probably going to be some type of DDoS activity, possibly. Just a path mentioned here, some other things. Okay. So once again, go ahead and pause the video, try to answer the questions yourself, then come back to the video, and then we'll proceed forward. Let's go ahead and take a look at these questions. I am pivoting off of index equals task 6. Which URI path had the highest number of requests? So go ahead and plug that in and hit enter and go ahead and review those interesting fields. And you can see already these results. WP login page is targeted, and you can see WP scan comes up quite a bit in here, which is a tool out there you can use to scan WordPress sites. Right? You can take a look at user agent, and it has the highest one out of any of them. You can see Hydra mentioned here, as we learned about, is used in like brute force activity, right? So anyway, after we identify some information here, we can determine which endpoint or URI path has the highest one. So we can go to URI down here, or URI path, whichever one, doesn't matter. But you can see that it's targeted 907 times, right? This wp-login.php, and you can click on that to take you to that information there. Okay, which IP address was the source of the activity? Right. So after you pivot off that information here, you can go down to like source IP or something like that. Let's see if it shows up in here, or you can just look at it here. I mean, it'll tell you where it comes from. So you can see this this .134 is mentioned right there, but let's see if it shows up in this field area here. No. Okay, but anyway, there we go. I was looking for client IP is what I'm looking for. And you can see that appears where it's coming from. You can see that most of the activities coming from there. So you can just click on that if you want to be sure about it. Right. Or you can just pivot off of the WP scan that's mentioned as well for this. So there's different ways of getting this. WP scan, and then we'll put some stars in there. So this is the way I did it, or I'm showing you multiple ways to get this particular answer here. But yeah, so you go back to client IP, and that's the only one that shows up is this .134, and that goes to the next one. How can this activity be classified? Well, if you do some Googling on what this is, or you just ask ChatGPT like I did, this is a popular open source WordPress scanner tool used to identify the following: vulnerable plugins, outdated themes, weak credentials, exposed users, etc., etc., etc. Okay, what it does, you see all kinds of things, weak passwords, right? And you can even ask it, let's see, can There. So let's see what it says. It's probably in there somewhere, but I'm just going to ask it. And it says right here, yes, functionality that can perform WordPress login password attacks by or during authorized security testing. There you go. Okay, so let's flip back over here. And like I said, how can this activity be classified brute force activity? And it's targeting that login page, right? So it would make sense that it will be brute force activity. They're trying to log in, try to get some valid username and password credentials. Which tool did the threat actor use? Well, we saw WP scan was used, obviously, right? The other one in question was that Hydra one, which is interesting, but I just want to take a quick look at what comes up for that. So let's just delete all this stuff and see what comes up here. That was an interesting one. That didn't ask any questions about it. You see that it's targeting that page too. So yeah, the login page. That's all it's hitting. It looks like. We can double check too by looking at the URI path here. Yes, right. So it's just been getting hammered. But anyway, we have the answers there. So there you go. It's probably a better way to get the queries, but that's the way I did it. As a bonus, if you want a more efficient query, you can just use the one we learned about here in this brute force activity section. Just copy and paste and then just put in the applicable information. Okay, so I'm just going to paste this in. Make sure your index equals task 6. Okay, after that's done, make sure you have the correct time set, all time, and then hit enter, and it should go back and find those results for you. 743 events, and right off the bat, we can see the information here. Client IP, this .134, user agent, WP scan, the URI path, the WP-login IPHP, count 583, status of 200. So there we go. Anyway, so let's go ahead and wrap it up with task number 7, conclusion. Great job completing this room. You've now gained a solid understanding of the key log sources commonly found in SIEM platforms and the value they provide during analysis. Explored the value of SIEM during log analysis. Learned how Splunk queries can be used to detect malicious behaviors. Gain an introduction to the processes of log correlation and normalization. More exciting challenges await you next. Good work. So we are done. Awesome. Hopefully y'all stayed till the end of the video. Hopefully you learned something. That's the most important thing, that you are learning something as you are watching my videos, and hopefully you're tagging along if you're able to do so. If not, you can take notes as usual. All right, so thank you all for taking time to watch my video. Happy hacking, happy defending. Stay safe in the cyber trenches, and I will see you later. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos. You can see here over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review, make it more convenient for you. Anyway, happy defending, happy hacking, enjoy the video. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. Today's video, we are in TryHackMe, SOC Level 1 Learning Path, SIEM Triage for SOC Module, Alert Triage with Splunk Room. Use Splunk to triage alerts and investigate malicious activity efficiently. So let's see what we're cooking with in task number 1, introduction. As a SOC analyst, it's important to be able to investigate different types of suspicious activity across a variety of assets and environment. Knowing what to look for and which details matter most during an investigation is a key part of the role. Learning objectives. Learn how to properly investigate alerts in a SOC environment. Understand how to investigate brute force attacks on Linux systems, discover the persistence mechanism on Windows systems, analyze a web shell on a vulnerable web server. Learn how to investigate alerts for 3 given scenarios using Splunk. Room prerequisites. It is suggested to complete the following rooms first before proceeding: Introduction to SIEM, Splunk Basics, Windows logging capabilities, log analysis with SIEM, and Sysmon, or you can check out my channel for any videos related to this information here. Lab access. Before proceeding, start the lab by clicking the Start Lab Machine button, which I've already done. You will then have access to the Splunk web interface. To access Splunk, please follow this URL, whichever one happens to be for you. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this and get it ready. Please wait 4 to 5 minutes for Splunk instance to launch. Use Splunk's all-time range to search the index where logs are stored for each practical exercise are present in each task. So remember to set this to all time. All right, and if you want to help support the channel, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe so that you will know every time I upload to the channel, and be sure to hit that notification bell. Without further delay, let's go ahead and dive into it. Task 2, Initial Access Alert. We will explore 3 different scenarios that you as an analyst may encounter during your shift. The first one will take place on a Linux host, and you will uncover what exactly happens there during our investigation alert scenario. You've just started your first shift as a SOC analyst at an MSSP. Only a few minutes have passed since an alert about a possible brute force attack appeared on the platform. Alert details, alert name, brute force activity detection, time 17/09/2025, 9:21 a.m. Target host TryHackMe-2404. Source IP 10.10.242.248. Your job is to investigate this activity and decide whether it should be considered suspicious. The logs for this task are located in the Splunk index Linux-alert using the following query. So index equals or Linux-alert. So we can just get this ready to go here. All right, and remember to set your time to all time there. All right, so let's go ahead and continue reading. Investigating the alert. Let's begin our investigation. First, we will focus on the alert data, and in particular, 2 fields that may be of interest: target host time and source IP. Starting with the IP, as we can see, this is a local IP address. This suggests that if it is indeed an attacker, they are already inside the organization's network, possibly having successfully compromised the VPN or gained access through some other way. As for the host name, we don't have much information. We lack an asset inventory table, and based on the host name alone, it's hard to determine what system this is. Most likely it's some type of organizational server. The activity time appears normal. It's 9:00 a.m. during regular working hours. Therefore, let's move into the SIEM and check whether brute force activity occurred here or if it's a false positive alert. Let's use this search in Splunk. This query will search for both successful and failed login attempts, as well as events related to invalid users, which are commonly observed when attackers attempting to enumerate accounts before starting brute force attacks on a specific user. That's absolutely true. A lot of times you'll have those generic accounts in the alerts, as you see. So let's see what we come back with here in a second. The first thing we notice is a rather large number of events associated with this IP. Secondly, what's interesting is that there are several login attempts from non-existent users, which is suspicious, wouldn't you agree? Okay, so here we go here. Number 1, event count associated with the .248 activity, invalid user login attempt. As we can see there, failed logins due to invalid user. So very suspicious stuff going on right there. Okay, let's close out of this and let's see if we have something similar here. Appears that we do. 543 events, and we can see invalid user several times in here. Okay, and we can see failed password, failed password, failed password. All right. Let's see here. So far, we haven't found any signs of brute force. Therefore, let's run another search to see the number of login attempts made for each user. Okay, and that's right. Sometimes this will be noisy depending on your depending on if it is publicly accessible via the internet. Like you'll have a web login portal or something like that, and you're looking for maybe suspicious activity on that, and you'll see like a ton of like maybe failed logins or something like that. But anyway, so we have quite a few items here, 911 events, and we can see it broken down by username. You can see the count here. John.Smith has a lot, 503. Source IP, host name, and process. So they're trying to get in via SSH there, it looks like. Now the results are more interesting. As we can see from the search output, the login attempts from this IP targeted 4 different users, but only John.Smith shows a significantly high number of 503 attempts, which is a clear indicator of brute force activity. And we see that here, as we just saw there, right? So these low ones could have been, they could have been an attacker trying, or it just could have been the user having issues with their logins. All right, let's see. We know that the brute force attempts target John.Smith, but at this point, we don't know whether the attack was successful. Therefore, let's use the following search to determine whether the attacker usually or actually gained access to the system. So let's do it with this search here. and let's see what we get. Okay. Oh, there we go. It says accepted. So it looks like one of them worked, apparently. As a result, we detected a successful login only for John.Smith account, which gives us sufficient grounds to confirm that the brute force attack was successful and that the threat actor gained access to the host TryHackMe-2404. We have clear indicators to classify this activity as true positive. In addition, we must immediately escalate this to the SOC level 2 analyst for further investigation with the possible involvement of the incident response team. Here we go here. We saw that as well, right? And it looks like they drilled down into it further so they can see where it actually came from. Okay, I'm assuming they must have clicked on it. Let's see here. Go to view events. Maybe not. Maybe they did something different. I'm not sure. But we'll probably see here in a second what happened. Or maybe if we just click on this and see. Okay. Let's see here. Next, investigation steps. At this point, your investigation of this activity as a SOC level 1 analyst comes to an end, since your responsibility is to identify malicious activity and escalate it to level 2 analyst. Therefore, let's now discuss what will happen next and what questions still remain for the SOC team regarding this case. Why did the attacker have a local IP address? Could it be that they are inside our network? If so, for how long? How did the attacker obtain information about the users, specifically their usernames? What happened after the attacker gained access to TryHackMe-2404 host? Following this, the incident response team should carry out a series of containment and remediation steps. Not an easy shift you've got, huh? All right, so we have some questions here, so y'all know what to do. Go ahead and pause the video, try to answer these questions yourself, and then come back to the video, and we will proceed forward. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos. You can see here over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review, make it more convenient for you. Anyway, happy defending, happy hacking, enjoy the video. All right, let's take a look at these questions. How many failed login attempts were made on the user John.Smith? So using the information we learned about in this task and other videos and rooms as well, that's what we're going to apply here. So we need to find the failed login attempts for John.Smith, and we can do that with this query here. So once again, index equals Linux dash alert, source type equals Linux underscore secure. There's the IP right there, .248, and we're looking at these fields here. Okay, and then instead of having accepted and failed in there, I took out accepted and just have failed in here. Looking at SSHD, and the rest of it's pretty much the same. So when I hit enter here or click the magnifying glass there, and now we can see the number of failed attempts here for every user, and then John.Smith is the one we need. So count is 500, and there we go for that one. Okay, next one, what was the duration of the brute force attack in minutes? Now there's multiple ways to do this. This is the way I did it here, and let's see. I believe it was this one here. Yeah, because we're looking for the duration and count here. There's different ways to do it, but this is the way I did it. So I'm going to paste that in there. Okay, so once again, this time we're looking for failed password 4 or whatever you want to search for inside of here. And then the regex failed password 4, invalid user, username. So we're using stats, eval, duration, and then rounding it up, table, username, count, duration, and then sorting it by count. So we have every user in here and we're sorting it. And you can see there's John.Smith and duration is 5 minutes right there. So we got 5 minutes there. What username was the attacker able to privilege escalate to? So for this one, I believe we have to use the success one as well. So you can do something like this, or you can use the information we had learned about inside the room to pivot off of, which kind of did here anyway, because I'm looking for successful, and then also sudo, su, and things like that here, as we learned in like other rooms. So let's take a look at this. So now we have everything organized here in relation to these events. And as you're scrolling through here and analyzing what's going on here, you'll determine that they escalated privileges to root, as we can see here. Session open for user John.Smith. Okay, we can see all kinds of activity related to that. And then as we go up here, you can see that there's home John.Smith and user equals root. And then you can see Sue being used right there, it looks like. And then it says session opened for user root by John.Smith. Okay, user root by John.Smith, and then up here you can see user equals root, and then command equals add user, and then system-utm is the user they added here after compromising the John.Smith account. All right, so there's both of our answers there for those last two, root and then system-utm for what's the name of the user account created by the attacker for persistence. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on to task number 3 here. Task 3, persistence alert. The second scenario will focus on activity in a Windows environment which SOC analysts come across on a regular basis. That's why knowing how to carry out the analysis is really important to you. Alert scenario, you are working as a level 1 SOC analyst on shift at a MSSP. An alert has come through indicating that a suspicious scheduled task was created on a host. Alert details. So alert name, potential task scheduler, persistence identified, time 30/08/2025, 10:06:07 a.m., host win-h015, user Oliver.Thompson, task name, assessment, task 1. Your job is to investigate this activity and decide whether it should be considered suspicious. The logs for this task are located in Splunk, index win-alert, using the following query, index equals win-alert. So remember that, investigating the alert. Let's look at how to approach this analysis. First, pause. Don't jump straight into the SIEM. Begin with the alert details. Focus on host and user. Work out what kind of host it is, workstation or server. This context is key before continuing. Many organizations have an asset inventory, sometimes in Confluence or Notion for this, but if not, naming conventions can help. You have to remember sometimes that a lot of times these organizations do not have an accurate asset inventory. It may not be up to date or maybe missing assets, so take that into consideration. You may have to use other sources such as looking through Teams conversations, Slack conversations, check through SharePoint, Abyss, right? Talk to applicable teams or who you think may own the system, talk to them. And then also you're going to look at your CMDB, right? It may not be in Notion or Confluence. It might be in something like ServiceNow or something like that. So you can go through and scan through ServiceNow to see if you find anything that can then lead you to the applicable parties to gather those key contexts. Anyway, let's continue on. Servers often use prefixes like SRV, Web, MySQL, or MSSQL, while workstations are labeled Win or host. In our case, Win-H015 suggests it's a workstation. Next, check the user or use the identity table to see their role. This helps decide if the activity fits their job. For example, it's odd if HR is creating tasks, but normal for IT staff. You can also check the user's location and working hours to see if the timing makes sense. In our case, Oliver Thompson is a system engineer. Once we've gathered this information, we will have an initial picture of where the activity took place and who carried it out. Now let's move into the SIEM for deeper analysis. To start, we'll query the task name, asset or assessment task 1 along with the event ID 4698, which indicates that a scheduled task was created. Since we also know the exact time of the activity, we can filter by timestamp to speed up the search. Note, for now we won't filter by host. And this way we can check whether the activity is isolated to a single machine or present across multiple hosts. We can do that with this query here. So let's go ahead and put this bad boy in there and see what we can get while this loads. So we should get something like this. From our search, we can see that there's only a single event related to this activity, and we can see that here. There's a time, there's the event code, there's the username, host, task name, and there's the message for it here. A scheduled task was created. Okay, so let's see if we got similar things here. Awesome. And of course, you're gonna have to go in and review what's inside of here. Okay. Data collector.exe. That's interesting. There's some other stuff in there too. Looks like this had downloaded something, rv.exe. So this is some interesting information here that you can pivot off of, which we'll probably get into in a minute. So let's see what they say. Now let's look at the message field to understand what this task actually does. Let's go step by step, starting with the triggers section. So it says number 1, the task is scheduled to start running at 10:15 on 30/08/2025. 2, it's configured to run every day at the same time. You can see that right here, 1 for days interval, okay? And obviously it's enabled. We can see that there. It says true for that. We can see that the task runs every day at the same time on a user workstation, which is quite unusual. Let's continue by analyzing the message field, focusing on the exec and principles. Focus on the exec and principal sections to see what task is being executed and under which user account. So they're just, like I said, they're just going in here and just reviewing stuff here. So this is the first section here, and then looks like we're gonna get down in the weeds a little bit further here. So let's see here. It says number 1, the command being executed here is clearly malicious, right? As we just saw that earlier, I had mentioned that. 2, the command will be executed by the same user. Okay, so if we want to see that again, if we scroll down a little bit here, we can see that here. We even have where it appears to be coming from. All right, awesome. At this point, we can already see the first signs of malicious activity. This task will use certutil to download rv.exe from TryHackMe domain into the temp folder under the name data collector.exe. It will then launch this file using a start-process PowerShell command. All of this activity will be executed under the user Oliver.Thompson. This is a clear example of persistence. What else can you find out? Try looking up the domain in threat intelligence platforms. It might be linked to a known attacker. Infrastructure classified this activity as a true positive. Also, this activity should be escalated to a level 2 analyst for deeper investigation. Next, investigation steps. Of course, there are still open questions such as how was the scheduled task created? How did the attacker gain access to win-h015 host? How was the Oliver.Thompson account compromised? Normally, these questions will be addressed by a SOC level 2 analyst. However, since this is a training exercise, you'll have a chance to answer them yourself during the practical part of this task. And also in the real world, sometimes you may need to actually talk to the end user or the owner of the server, workstation, whatever, to see if you can gather some more context around what's going on there, right? Okay, so once again, we have some questions here. Y'all know what to do. Go ahead and pause the video, try to answer them yourself, then come back to the video, and then we will proceed forward. Let's take a look at the questions. What is the process ID of the process that created this malicious task? Now you can find, I believe, a couple of these in the first query. The one we did earlier, I believe, was this one, if I'm not mistaken. Event code equals 4698. And then we're pivoting off of the name of the task, right? So we have everything outlined here in this nice, pretty table, okay? And as we go through and review this table, we can discover those answers, right? So we already saw the suspicious activity here from the certutil.exe, and then we can see the domain or C2 possibly being used here, and then the name of the XE, and then you can see it's going to the temporary directory here, and then also being renamed to this data collector.exe. Okay, so we have a lot of information there to take in, and then if I scroll down here for under other information here, you can see the process IDs here. The one you need here is a client process ID of 5816. So that's going to be our first one, and then we're going to pivot off of this information to get to the next one. Okay, so after you take a hold of that process ID, you can pivot off of that by using this here, or whichever query you choose to use to find the answer. But this is the way I did it. Okay, so I'm going to plug this in here and see what is referenced, and we can see one event reference here, and you can show all lines here. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can see the command line here, command or cmd.exe is mentioned multiple times inside of here, image cmd.exe. So that appears to be what we are looking for in here that fired this off. Okay, so that's going to be the answer for that one. What is the name of the parent process for the process that created this malicious task? Which local group did the attacker enumerate during discovery? This one, you can pivot off of the commands to add groups, right? Or to check for groups, and that's exactly what's happening here. So looking for the event code 4799 or net group. So if they did that in like the command line, or net local group, or get dash local group, which is the PowerShell version of that. So let's see that information here. Okay, so I'm going to plug this in and see what comes back. Okay, and we can see the information right here. Okay, so you can see that group name down here, administrators is the one we're looking for here. That's what was enumerated. You can see audit success there. Okay, so next one, what is the name of the workstation from which the threat actor logged into this host? And this is my query for that one. index equals win dash alert, Oliver.Thompson, event code 4624 is the one I searched on. So as you're looking through here, you'll come across the machine in question. So if you just go in and take a look at show all lines and just scroll down here, and you'll come across the one that we're looking for. So there's nothing in that one of interest that we can see. And we check this one here. Okay, appears to be the same way. Go down to the next one. All right. And we can see right here, network information, workstation, and this dev-qa.server, a dash server is the one in question here that we're looking for. All right, so that's the way I found this one. All right, and you can see other information up here. There's the event code we searched on, 4624, audit success, log on, etc., etc. Log on type 3. Okay, so there we go. Plug that one in as our answer, and we're done with that task. Task number 4, web shell alert. So let's see what they're cooking with here. The last scenario will focus on activity in a vulnerable web server. We'll be investigating possible web shell exploitation. Alert scenario. Your shift as a level 1 SOC analyst continues, and you've now received the next alert that needs to be investigated. This time, the activity is related to the web. Alert details. Alert name, potential web shell upload detected. Time 14/09/2025, 09/31/51 a.m. Resource is this URL here, and suspicious IP is this .40. Your job is to investigate this activity and decide whether it should be considered suspicious. The logs for this task are located in Splunk. Index win-web. Use the following query: index equals web-alert, investigating the alert. As with the previous cases, we will begin by examining the details contained in the alert. The first thing of interest is the resource where the activity occurred. In this case, is going to be this http web.trywinme.thm, which is the organization's website hosted on the web server. The next point of interest here is the suspicious IP address. We can check it across various threat intelligence platforms to gather more information. Abuse IPDB for this, which is the one of my go-tos in the actual real world. It's a good website. As we can see, the IP address has been flagged as malicious more than 3,000 times. Let's make note of this. So if we want to check that out here, you can see it in action. And now we're over in Abuse IPDB. You can see that's been flagged. It's been found in their database here, and it says it was reported 12,532 times. You scroll down to the bottom, you can see the comments from people who have reported it. Various different comments here. So we can see there's a laundry list of information there, or comments that go back to, looks like 836 pages at least. All right, so let's flip back over here. Right, so it says, as we can see, this IP address has been flagged as malicious more than 3,000 times. Let's make a note of this. All right. Now let's move into the SIEM to examine the specific activity carried out by this IP address. So we're going to search on that criteria here, and let's go ahead and X out of that and go back to Splunk here. All right, so let's see what we get back here. Should get something similar. Right away, we can detect a large number of requests associated with this IP. What's particularly interesting is that the user agent is set to Hydra, a popular tool commonly used by attackers to perform brute force attempts, in our case against the wp-login.php. This is already a clear indicator of malicious activity, specifically attempts to gain unauthorized access. However, our alert is about a web shell, so let's take a closer look at what else has occurred. Well, as we look in through there's a number of events, and this is IP address performing activity, tool used by the attacker for brute force, login page targeted by the attack, HTTP status code for a successful page request over here, 200 codes there. All right, so let's flip back over here. We get similar results, right? Hydra, there's the URI path, there's the method, the status, etc., etc. All right. We excluded Hydra as the user agent from our search and reviewed the results here. So now they're getting rid of that part of it and leaving everything else here, and to see what is left over. Okay, so we have different URI paths. Looks like they're targeted here. There's refers listed here. Of course, there's the domain, and you can see status codes over here. All right, so let's see what they are going to explain here. And it says, when reviewing the search results, one detail immediately stands out. A post request was observed for admin-ajax.php with a refer pointing to theme-editor.php question mark file equals b374k php. This is unusual because the theme editor should not reference arbitrary PHP files. The presence of that PHP file strongly suggests that the attacker may have uploaded or is interacting with the web shell. That's true. Looks like it's randomly named as well, right? And I believe this is like a commonly targeted a thing inside of WordPress, if I'm not mistaken here. But we can see that here. It looks like, yeah. Okay, so let's continue on. Let's see here. All right, we detected that the threat actor successfully gained access to a possible web shell, the B374k.php. After that, they began executing activity through it. Specifically, we observed 4 successful post requests. Unfortunately, the logs do not show how the attacker initially uploaded the web shell to the server. So it looks like they pivoted off that web shell information there. And you can see here web shell access established, command executed through web shell. Okay, nice. And let's see. We're just going to plug it in just to follow along here. Okay, so we have similar results here, it looks like. Let's go ahead and continue on. Sometimes attackers use popular web shells without even changing their file names. Let's do some research in the web shell. We identified, just Google that web shell, okay, and you get some interesting results back here. It looks like Kali tools, etc. All right, if we just do this in good old, I guess, ChatGPT and see what comes back here. We'll say, give me info on this. And let's see what comes back. There we go. Is a well-known PHP web shell. It's been used by attackers for many years to maintain control of compromised web servers. So this appears to be it. All right, and there's some additional details there listed. So let's flip back over here. This finding provides additional confirmation that the identified file is a web shell. In summary, we identified malicious activity originating from a Vietnamese IP address, the .40, targeting the web server. This suspicious activity began with a brute force attack using Hydra against wp-login.php, followed by clear evidence of the web shell activity involving that .php file. We can confidently classify this as a true positive and escalate to a SOC level 2 analyst, as this case requires deeper investigation and will undoubtedly involve the incident response team. Next investigation steps. These questions should be reviewed by the SOC level 2 analyst. Was the brute force attack using Hydra successful? How did the attacker upload the web shell to the server, given that SOC level 1 did not identify any traces of the upload? What specific actions did the attacker perform on the server using commands through the web shell? After this, containment and remediation actions should take place. That was quite an intense shift. I hope you've learned how to properly conduct investigation and what you can identify in the logs. Okay, so once again, question time. Go ahead and pause the video, try to answer these questions yourself, then come back to the video and we will proceed. Let's review the questions and answers and how to find them. What time did the brute force activity using Hydra begin? Answer format, example 2025 01 15, and then the time. Okay, so let's go ahead and find this first one here, and I already have it loaded up here. Basically, I just kind of modified the first query I believe they gave us here, which was the one up here. So I just kind of modified that one, tweaked it a little bit here to figure out what this was. All right, so looking for this wp-login.php, because we know that's the one that's being targeted, right? The endpoint is being targeted, or the login page is being targeted. User agent, of course, we're going to search on the one that had mentioned Hydra, then everything else sorts time, then put it in a nice clean table format, as we can see there. Okay, hit search, and you should find out similar results here. And the first one we need is this one here. Okay, so if you sort it here, you'll see that that appears to be the first time. So there's our answer there. Next one, which user agent did the attacker use when interacting with the web shell? Okay, so for this one, I believe we could use that other query we had in there as we're searching on the actual web shell, since we already know what it is. Okay, and if we plug it in and take a look at the results here, tier user agent, and you just need to copy and paste this out of there. So it looks like they're they have this listed here as their user agent as to interact with it. And then it says what was the number of requests made by the attacker to the server via the web shell. So for this one, you're going to look for post requests. So just count the post requests right here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 is going to be our answer for that one. Awesome. So we're pretty much done. It looks like task number 5, conclusion. Great job completing this room. You've now gained practical experience in investigating different types of alerts you can encounter in the real world, detecting anomalies on Windows and Linux systems, analyzing web shell activity, and identifying its traces. More exciting challenges await you next. Well done. So I'm going to take one quick look at this real quick here. So we found out that they were able to compromise, looks like this theme here, and uploaded that web shell. And then as they gained access to that web shell, they started issuing out commands, probably doing some enumeration and things of that nature. Around, probably trying to escalate privileges and try to gain, a further foothold onto that victim machine there. But we are done with this. Okay, so I'm gonna hit that. And if you're enjoying the content, enjoying the video, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know every time I upload to the channel. Be sure to go ahead and do that. It helps out the channel, helps grow the community here. All right. And as always, thank you all for taking the time to watch my video. Happy hacking, happy defending. Stay safe in the cyber trenches, and I will see you later. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos that you can see here, over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review, make it more convenient for you. Anyway, happy defending, happy hacking, enjoy the video. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec back with another video for you guys. Today's video, we're in TryHackMe, SOC Level 1 Learning Path, SIEM Triage for SOC module, Alert Triage with Elastic, investigate alerts with Elastic by analyzing logs and spotting threats. Task number 1, introduction. As a Security Operations Center SOC analyst, you aim to investigate alerts and escalate incidents with clear evidence to support your findings. In this guided challenge room, you'll use Kibana, part of the Elastic Stack, to perform alert triage and initial investigations, analyzing suspicious activity on an IIS and Windows server. You'll explore potential indicators of compromise, IOCs, and collect evidence by correlating events across multiple log sources to gain a deeper understanding of the attack. Objectives. Use Kibana to analyze common security logs, learn how to identify key indicators of compromise, correlate events across multiple log sources, uncover the breach through a series of SOC alerts. Prerequisites. Check out investigating with ELK 101 to build a foundation for working with the Elastic Stack. Complete logs fundamentals to understand log structure and formatting. Cover Windows logging for SOC for an overview of important event IDs. Go over Sysmon for event IDs to detect attacker activity, or you can check out my channel for videos related to these areas here. Machine access. So click the Start Lab Machine button. Please give Elastic 5 minutes to start and access the dashboard with this link. So whatever your link is, this is how you're going to access it, and press that green Start Machine button down here to fire it up. And also, if it hasn't started up yet, it'll have like a 502 error or something like that. So just wait a few more minutes and see if it starts up. If it doesn't, just go ahead and just restart the machine. Okay, so I understand the learning objectives and I'm ready to investigate with Elastic. All right. If you want to help support the channel, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know every time I upload to the channel. Without further delay, let's go ahead and dive into it. Task 2, Scenario Briefing. Your team is responsible for managing several small businesses, servers, applications, and network infrastructure. Suspicious activity in your client, some corpse infrastructure has triggered multiple alerts. As the on-call SOC analysts use the provided logs, dashboards, and tools to investigate the activity, determine if it is malicious, and reconstruct the attack sequence. So let's take a brief look at this real quick. So we have time, name, severity, status, verdict, assignee, and actions. It seems pretty straightforward so far. You log into the SOC dashboard provided above and see many alerts to triage, but first you must build out your environment on the Kibana interface. Let's start by accessing the Kibana dashboard and choosing the correct filters. Access Kibana, start the VM, wait up to 5 minutes, and open via whatever link you have. Select the data view. You need to choose alert triage with Elastic for this room. Okay, so there we go, alert triage with Elastic. Looks like it's already selected there. Select the time range. For now, select entire data range to view all ingested logs. Okay. And I'm assuming it's that there on the right side. Yes. Okay, so entire data range. There we go. So now we have some stuff coming in, populating. This looks similar to, I guess, Splunk a little bit, right? We have the fields here on the left, and then the actual event stuff here in the middle, and then we have the fancy little charts and stuff up here. Okay. The data view selected includes 2 indices. For the second question, please enter your first query _ index : web logs to filter for only IIS web server logs, which we will begin with in the next task. Before moving on, take a moment to check out the available fields on the left side of the dashboard, right, per usual. Okay, let's do that. Now we only have those web logs. So we have some fields here, empty fields. What's under here? Nothing. Okay. Available fields. So we have various different ones. Of course, you can click on here to see what's in there as well. See how many hits you have, right? Nice. Okay, cool. Awesome. So go ahead and try to answer these questions yourself, and then we will continue on. This should be pretty straightforward here. Let's take a look at these questions. How many logs are available for analysis within the entire time range? So all you have to do is just go in here, make sure this is empty here, okay? And then select the entire data range, okay? And then it'll should automatically search for it, or if it's not, you can just hit this refresh button or search button there. And then we have 1467 here for documents, so that's how many events we have there. Plug that in as our answer. What is the field value for client.ip in the web logs index? So once again, we're going to grab that index right like that, and then just hit the update button over there, and client IP on the left side here, click that, and then we have the IP right there, this .55. So we're done. Task number 3, investigating web attacks. Nice. Okay, so we have the SOC alert here. Web request indicating file upload, severity high, alert ID, client IP, destination, alert time, trigger from the WAF apparently. Okay. Now that we have set up Kibana interface, we can begin to investigate the alerts. Let's take a moment to consider the information we have. The alert above shows the IP address of the .55 made post request to the page proxy logon.ecp. Even if you don't know how the page can be exploited, your first goal is to visualize all web requests from the IP address. Let's build out a table using the information below and answer the first 2 questions about the request. Okay, number 1, append your current query to include the IP address in the highlight post request. Okay, so we're just going to grab this whole thing here. All right, so we're searching on index web logs and client IP of the .55, and http.request.method is going to be post. That's what we're looking for here. Plug that bad boy in there, hit enter. Okay, start building your table by using the plus next to any field on the left side to add it as a column. Add client IP, user agent, HTTP request method, URL path, HTTP response status code. Okay, so let's just follow along here. So it looks like this right now, but we're going to make it nice and fancy with the table. Okay, so client IP, user agent. All right, and then the next one I believe was method, then URL. Okay, the URL path, and then we have response status code right there. So now it looks nice and neat and fancy. Nice. Okay, cool. Highlighting the above fields will help you view the log data in a more structured and legible manner, making it easier to identify indicators. You can use the query and table to answer the first 2 questions. Sure, you can even do that with Splunk. You just click that plus sign and it'll add the table for you. I thought you had to put in like a table thing up here inside the search box. Maybe I'm wrong there, but anyway, let's go ahead and continue on. So we already have everything here, highlight it as such. Nice. Okay, and Okay, let's just read through everything here, then we'll get down to the bottom of the questions and stuff. So let's see here. You have now utilized Elastic to visualize the first alert. Great job. Upon learning more about the user agent and the page name, you will see that the requests are automated and related to proxy logon vulnerability. This is already a red flag, but let's quickly glance at another high severity alert. So the next one is going to be SOC alert get request to ASPX file with query parameters. Hi, there's alert ID, .55, destination, alert time, trigger. Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit different, looks like. Yeah. Well, maybe we can just answer the first two real quick. How many post requests did the IP address .55 make to proxy logon.ecp? So 1, 2, and 3. Looks like that's going to be our answer there. Which user.agent paired with the IP address .55 made the post request? So user agent. Okay, so that's going to be this Python dash request one here, it looks like. All right, so we're done with that. Let's continue on to the next one. Okay, the alert concerns the same client IP address and comes just 7 minutes after the first one. We will use the alert's details to investigate whether this is indeed a true positive. Look at the trigger field. The CMD equals parameter is a hallmark of web shell activity, as attackers can append commands directly to it. For example, CMD equals ID, where ID is the command being executed. Let's see whether we can confirm a web shell. So number one, alter your query to search for get request in the file name error ee.aspx. So I'm just going to copy and paste this here. And it says sort old dash new to see the request that came in first at the top. Okay, let's do this first. There we go. All right. And okay, so we just need to sort it now. Okay, looks good. And you can see what they're doing. Who am I? Some other stuff too, looks like here. We can for sure see who am I. Alright, so we're done with that. Great, now you're getting somewhere. In the screenshot below and in your Elastic instance, you can see some of the commands that were run using the web shell in the URL.path field of the table. The results indicate a breach. You need to escalate both alerts to your senior as true positives using the query. Begin answering the last question of the task, so it should look something like this, which you've already done here. Alright, so let's see how many logs contain the CMD equals query parameter in the URL path. So how many logs do we have here? 20. And we need to find out CMD equals parameter in it. Okay, so let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I guess 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Looks like 15, 16. Or we could just do this. Alright, so it says there's 20. So let's do that. Bam. Just hit Control F and then just paste CMD equals in there, and you can get it. It's probably an easier way to do it up here or something, but that's the way I did it. Which command was run using error ee.aspx on July 20th, 2025 at 04:45:50. Okay. So we'll just scroll up here. It's at 45, right? 45:50. Here it is. Okay, so that should be it here. And it says which command. That's going to be hostname. Let's grab that bad boy. And we're done with that, looks like. Sweet. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos that you can see here, over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review, make it more convenient for you. Anyway, Happy defending, happy hacking. Enjoy the video. Task for uncovering account activity. SOC alert, administrator access outside of business hours. Severity high. There's alert ID, account used, administrator, host name, alert time, and trigger, EDR this time. Your web log investigation raised red flags, but suspicious network traffic is only part of the story. You need to pivot to host-based evidence to determine if the attacker has moved further. The alert shows that the administrator account accessed the server outside of business hours. Your first step is to confirm the logon. When, how, and from where did it occur? Investigate Windows Security ID 4624 logon to gather the context. Let's begin by focusing on alerts that occurred on or after the specified time. The alert we'll focus on the security event ID 4624 logon, our client's hostname, and the administrator user. So we could just go ahead and copy and paste this in there. All right, so let's take a look. Again, we will add fields as columns to construct a table, allowing relevant information to be easily highlighted. So let's just go ahead and plug this in real quick. Okay. So we need to select these fields, when event or when log.event ID. So once this gets done loading. All right. So I guess we gotta get rid of all this here. All right. So now let's try it. We need to get when log.event. Okay, there's quite a few of them, and we need to grab the event underscore ID. So let's see here. Wow, there's a bunch of them. All right, we're just going to type it in then. Make it easier to do. Okay, so we have all of the fields that we need over here. So make sure all the fields are cleared out first, and then add the fields that are applicable to this task. Okay, so we have this when log one, host.name, and a couple others down here. So make sure you have these selected, right? So we're just following along here. The first one is the Windows event ID, host name, target host name on which the logon occurred, and then the next one, when log.event, data.target username, user account that logged in, logon.type, how the user accessed the system, examples for remotely via RDP, and then this other one for IP address, the source IP address of the client, a very important field. Based on the event and the screenshot in your Elastic instance, you can confirm that the administrator logged on at the specified time and from the same IP, the .55 as in the previous alerts. Expand the log and answer the first question. Okay, so this is everything that they're talking about here. Fields here. Okay. All right. It says expand the log. I'm assuming you have to click on it. Maybe. Let's see here. What's the other question they're asking? What is the when log.record underscore ID of the administrator 4624 event record ID? Let's see if that's even on here. So I'm going to select it here and see if that's an actual field that comes up. There we go. And we can just grab it like that. There we go. Sweet. Okay. I guess we can drop it in there too if we need to. But we already know what it is. All right. Sweet. So let's go ahead and continue on here. Okay. It says alongside Windows security logs, you also have sysmon logs available for investigation. These can be correlated to validate the administrator authentication and to investigate what happened afterward. To begin, take the timestamp from the previous 4624 logon event and adjust your query to look for sysmon ID 1, process creation, and the administrator username. All right, so that's exactly what they're doing here, getting rid of the other stuff that's in there. So let's go and delete all this stuff here. Okay, now let's see. Okay, let's get rid of this here. Let's get rid of that. There we go. These fields have been added to a table in the screenshot. You can also do the same in your VM. So they added a user.name. It says user account that launched the process. So let's just go ahead and follow along here. Add that one. And next one is process.parents.name, executable name of the parent process. There we go. And the last one is process.command_line, the actual process with its full command line. Oops. Okay, let's grab that real quick. All right, cool. So now we have those additional fields here. All right, cool. In the screenshot, we can verify the administrator log on and gain further insight into the process chain. In this case, the administrator log on and initiate a process chain that aligns with Windows session initialization. Try using the above query to answer the second question. So we should have something like this, which we do. Okay, so we have the username, parent.name, and the command line over there. All right, so we need to answer the second question, which is, what is the process.pid of the sysmon1 event that occurred on July 20th, 2025, 05/11/27. So let's see here, the 20th, 05/11/11/27, 996. Okay, this looks like it's it here. And we need to get the process.pid. Okay, and I don't think we had selected that one. Here we go. So it should be this first one here. It looks like 964 is our answer for that. All right, so let's continue on to the next one here. All right. We've yeah, so we already did this one here, I think. Yeah. Great. So those two queries helped you confirm the logon occurred, but the evidence you have so far is not enough to validate whether this behavior is malicious. Perhaps the administrator of some corp started work early today. Let's investigate the next alert to determine what the administrator account was up to. All right, so SOC alert, new user account created. Severity critical, there's the ID, administrator, hostname, alert time, and the trigger EDR again. To begin investigating this alert, we can use similar queries that we have already employed. Here is a query to begin your investigation. So let's grab this and plug it in here. All right. Okay, so looks like a service account may have been compromised. In the above query, we are focusing on Windows security logs and the winlog.task field. All right, so let's just get this ready to go here in case we don't have it. This field gives a human readable context about what type of activity the event represents. Try creating a table with these three fields after submitting the query and answering the remaining task questions. Don't forget to sort old new to see the events that occurred first at the top. Okay, so we have to get these in there now. I believe we already have this one. Let's just double check, I guess. When event dot, yeah, event ID, right? Yep. So we need to get this one here and then message. All right. You can also just scroll over. I'm sure you're probably supposed to remove these other columns, but I'm just going to leave them in there to see how they look here. But there's the message right there. You can expand it. So, okay, cool. Let's drop out of this here and start answering these questions. What is the winlog.event ID for the new user account being created? This name of the new user account. Well, we already saw this come up, so that's probably going to be it there. But let's go ahead and sort this here. And we had to sort it to old new, which I think it's already sorted that way. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. User account created. We just had that here. Yes, user account was created, and the target username was this SVC backup here. So I'm gonna grab that, and you can also just read through here to find that. So let's expand this again, if it lets me. All right, whatever. So we just need to get the ID, not the actual name, but the name's going to be right here. So I'm going to plug that in. And when you get the ID for it here, which is 4720, it looks like here. Okay, maybe I was clicking on the wrong one. But yeah, so you can expand it here. You can see right here, account name, right there. And then it looks like they enabled it right there. Reset, some other things going on. All right, cool. Plug it in here. We're done. Task 5, exposing command execution. SOC alert, unusual command line behavior, privilege changes, severity critical. Alert ID, account used administrator, there's the host name, there's alert time, trigger EDR command line usage, cmd.exe. This next alert flags suspicious command line usage from the same administrator account. Could the attacker be escalating their actions? Let's investigate. As a level 1 SOC analyst, your first steps should be: number 1, scope the alert, identify the child processes launched by command.exe. 2, confirm the origin, find out who launched command.exe and why. 3, check for privilege changes, look for commands like net used to add users to groups. 4, correlate across log sources, use Sysmon and Windows security logs to confirm the malicious behavior. Crafting a query to highlight Sysmon events that occurred on or after the started time and include the parent process cmd.exe will help you clearly see what commands were executed. So let's just grab this here. Let's make a simple table to investigate the commands executed by adding process.command-line, process.name, and process.parent.name as columns. So let's go ahead and do this first. All right. And let's go ahead and just remove these fields that we probably aren't going to need here. So we can start fresh. I should get rid of all this stuff here. Okay. So now let's see what we need to grab here. There's the first one. Right, process name. So these are some pretty neat SIEMs here, Splunk and Elastic. But you can see how these SIEMs kind of function similarly. It's just that there's just different ways of doing it inside of each SIEM. But this is some good stuff here. Okay, so now we have all of our applicable columns ready to go. The first command executed is shown in the screenshot below. Submit the query and build your table to investigate the following commands and answer the first question. So we already have everything here, it looks like. Yeah. So we're good to go. And let's answer the first question. What command does the attacker use to add the new account to the remote desktop users group? Okay, so it should be like an add thing in there. So there's multiple here. And there's remote desktop users. Let's just grab this bad boy right there. Nice. Okay, so let's continue on here. And it says correlate with security event ID 4732. From the previous search, we know the new account was added to 3 groups. You can now correlate the finding with Windows security event ID 4732 security group management. Use the next query to expand your search for Sysmon events and security events and answer the second question of the task. Okay. So let's see here. In the screenshot, a table has been constructed that highlights various fields from each event type, both Sysmon and security. You can use the same fields to build your table or experiment with other fields that you believe might be valuable. Nice. And I recommend experimenting while you're in here playing around, trying to find out the answers so you can get familiarized with how these SIEMs operate. Okay, so it should look something like this, which I think we already have. All right, so we need to answer the next question. I believe that's what it said. Question number 2. So let's see here. What is the win log record ID for 4732 security event when the attacker adds the user to the administrator group? So let's see if we even have that selected in here. When we don't, paste this in. Okay. And 4732. All right, so apparently we need to grab that field too. And I already forgot which one it was supposed to be, but we can already see the one they're probably talking about here, to the administrator group. And this will be 17254. So for this one, I went ahead and added this winlog.event ID field here. As you can see, now we're going to go and find that particular one in question here, which is the administrator's one right there. And you can see that's the one in relation here. Okay. So there's the 4732, and then there's the winlog record ID there. You can see administrators being added there. Okay. So I think we're done with that here. All right. So let's go ahead and continue on to the next one. Talk about PowerShell stuff, it looks like. PowerShell usage. You have verified that the administrator used CMD to create a user and modify security groups, but did the attack in there or continue from the newly created user? To answer this, you can use the same sysmon approach, but let's also examine PowerShell logs. So here's the query here, and it looks like we're going to add another field. All right. Add the field PowerShell.file.script block text as a column to show the commands run in plain text. There we go. And we can see that here. We can see all kinds of stuff. Nice. All right. Sort by old new, which I think is already done. Let's go and double check here. Yes. Okay. The first commands visible in your search results are who am I and who am I /priv. These are classic discovery commands often used by attackers to learn which account they are running under and what privileges are available. Use the query and table to answer the next question of the task. All right, we already saw that here on our end, all the way on the side here. All right, so let's answer the next one. What PowerShell command did the attacker run on July 20th at 05/16/14? 628, so July 20th, 2025, okay, 05/16, all right, and then 14, and this looks like it's it here, 628, nice. All right, so we need to grab that here, net group admins, domain admins, looks like. Nice, so we're trying to figure out who's in that group there, it looks like. All right, so now the last one. Great job. You confirmed that the adversary didn't just stop after creating a backdoor. At this point in your investigation, you've built a timeline proxy logon exploitation of the web app, RDP login as administrator, backdoor user setup via CMD, and now further evidence through PowerShell. This laid approach is a great way to piece together attacker activity. Alert created. Not every malicious action is covered by SOC alerts, and often you need to look deeper into the logs to uncover the full attack. In your investigation, you might have noticed the compression tool rar.exe being utilized by the newly created account. No alert was created because this is a legitimate software used by your client. Investigate the usage of the executable using sysmon logs to answer the final question of this query. Process name is going to be this here. Even though no alerts was generated, this is your chance to seal the deal. Investigation as a SOC analyst, your responsibility is not only to find artifacts, but also to determine what they mean in context. Do you have sufficient evidence to suggest that this activity is malicious or is it benign? Can you correlate across the log sources to show which account executed the tool, when, and how? Does the timing or parent process indicate potential abuse? If the answers point to suspicious use, you now have the evidence needed to escalate the case with confidence. Okay, cool. So what's the name of the archive that the attacker creates using the rar.exe executable? I went ahead and just removed everything out of here and just put in this process.name rar.exe, and you see there's only two results here. This one appears to be what we need here. We need to grab this archive file, it looks like here. So it's like finance it archive.rar. You can even see the password in there, it looks like, to unarchive it. All right. So we're done with that. And task number 6, conclusion. In this guided challenge room, you stepped into the role of a SOC analyst investigating suspicious activity targeting your client, some corporate infrastructure. Along the way, you learned to utilize the Kibana interface. You explored its features, searched and filtered for both web and Windows logs, identified key indicators of compromised IOCs, and correlated events across multiple log sources. Explore the rooms below to further enhance your Elastic knowledge and test your understanding. So we have advanced ELK queries, Itsy Bitsy, Server Day, and Boogeyman 3. So check out my channel for videos related to these, or go ahead and try them yourself. Escalate your findings and continue on your cyber learning journey. We are done with this room. Awesome. Hopefully y'all tagged along until the end. Hopefully you learned something. That's the most important part of it. And if you want to help support the channel, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know every time I upload to the channel. Happy hacking, happy defending. Stay safe in the cyber trenches. I will see you later. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos. You can see here over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review, make it more convenient for you. Anyway, happy defending, happy hacking, enjoy the video. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. Today's video, we are in TryHackMe, SOC Level 1 Learning Path, Security, Information, and Event Management module. This is the itsy bitsy room. Put your elk knowledge together and investigate an incident. Sounds exciting. All right. And as usual, hopefully you're all ready to learn something today. And before we dive into it, be sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel with the notification bell. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. Task 1 Introduction. In this challenge room, we will take a simple challenge to investigate an alert by IDS regarding a potential C2 communication, root machine. Before moving forward, deploy the machine, which is the green start button here. I've already clicked it, and I have my attack box loading up as well. Here's the machine IP. It says it takes up to 3 to 5 minutes to start, so remember that. And then use the following credentials to log into it. And we're going to look at the Discovery tab. Okay, get to go there. So I'm just waiting for the attack box to finish loading up. I'm assuming you can use VPN as well if you choose to go that route. Task number 2, scenario, investigate a potential C2 communication alert scenario. During normal SOC monitoring, analyst John observed an alert on an IDS solution indicating a potential C2 communication from a user Brown from the HR department. A suspicious file was accessed containing a malicious pattern, THM, yada, yada, yada. A week-long HTTP connection logs have been pulled to investigate. Due to limited resources, only connection logs could be pulled out and are ingested in the connection underscore logs indexed in Kibana. Something to note there. Our task in this room will be to examine the network connection logs of this user and find the link and the content of the file and then answer the questions here. So looks like the talk box is loaded up here. And I've already started the VM that we need to look at here. So we're going to see if it's up and running. So I'm just going to copy this over and paste it as soon as Firefox loads up. All right, so let's take a look here. Delete everything out of here. It's not ready yet. All right, so we're gonna give it a few more minutes to load up, and then we're gonna log in, and then start working through these questions. Well, actually, to log in, you already have the credentials, so you can already start working through these questions here without me. And then if you get stuck, or if you want to continue on, then of course come back to the video, and then we'll step through this process together. But I'm gonna wait till this loads up, and then we'll start going through this. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Be sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe Once you subscribe, be sure to hit that notification bell. All right, so you know every time I post a new video. As you can see here, most people that view my videos, view my channel, are not subscribed. Now, if you do subscribe, it will help me get into the YouTube algorithm so that we can continue to grow our glorious community here. As always, thank you all for taking the time to watch. Have a nice day and enjoy the video. Let's take a look here. How many events were returned for the month of March 2022? So this one's pretty easy to get. Make sure you're in Discover and that you go over to the right side here and adjust the dates accordingly. So when you click in here on the dates, you got to go to absolute and then you select March and then the year 2022. Same thing with the end time here. You're going to go to March 31st, 2022. So you want March 1st to the 31st, 2022. And then make sure the times are squared away as well. All right. So once that's set, you'll hit refresh here. And then you should get 1482 hits that come back. The next one says we need to find an IP. So what you can do is go in here and you can add additional columns here. So we got source IP there. You know, maybe you want source port. You go in and pull out some other additional information, destination IP, you know, things of that nature that might be of use in here. We have URIs stuff in here. So let's click this real quick. So that might be useful, come in handy. We got methods in here. There's a lot of GET requests in here. So let's go ahead and add that as well. And let's see if there's anything else that could be of interest. Let's see. Let's select URI. Go ahead and throw this in there too. Okay. So maybe user agent too. Let's see what's in there. That looks interesting. There's that bits admin. So let's just throw it in there too. Okay. So now I have some pretty good filters here or columns here that we need to choose from these fields area. Anyway, so now we need to figure out the IP. So you know that we can, if we click on this specific field, it'll give us a top 5. So we have 2 in here that appear. So the bulk of it's coming from this one. So in the real world, investigates probably maybe both of these, but something out of the ordinary right away is this one here. Why is this one so um, small here for this event? So let's go ahead and just click. Let's just exclude this IP, this .52 here, and take a look at our results. See if there's anything interesting here. And right away, we can see the bits admin and this funky looking URL or URI is there too. So we can click in here to drill down and try to see some more information. Okay, so I'm going to go with this one here, and it's going to Pastebin, which is a well-known site out there that can be abused by attackers. All right, so I'm going to grab this one here. This one looks the one that is suspicious here. So this is the .52 IP, and I'm trying to see if I can just grab it out of it real quick. Or sorry, not it's not the .52, it's a .54 IP. It's the one I'm grabbing here. So let's go ahead and copy this over. Okay, the user's machine used a legit Windows binary to download a file from the C2 server. Was named the binary. Well, we saw that bits admin. If you do a Google search on bits admin, you'll come across that this is the one you're looking for here. Then also, like I said, you can exclude the traffic here, but you can also take a look at it too if there's anything in there that might be looking suspicious or anything. So we'll just exclude this traffic for now. But take a look at this other IP. So let's get this out of the way. But you can see that it's going to things that appear to be, you know, normal, possible normal traffic, whatnot. But it's a lot of stuff to sift through. Okay, but it's just something to take into consideration here. So let's get rid of that. Okay, and then we're going to plug in the bits admin as our answer there. The infected machine connected with a famous file sharing site in this period, which also acts as a C2 server used by the malware authors to communicate what is the name of this file sharing site. Well, we saw Pastebin was in there. And if you Google search or ChatGPT, Pastebin, you'll come across that. This is the one we're looking for here. What is the full URL of the C2 to which the infected host is connected? And we already saw the URI stuff in there, so let's go back and select our specific IP that we need. Okay, so there we go, the 2 hits. And we already have a piece of it here, so we need to grab the rest of it. So I'm just going to grab this real quick. This will be the end of it. Now, and I didn't grab the whole thing here. So I'm gonna grab this whole thing here for URI. We'll need that combine it to get the full URL in there. So let's take a look here, see if we can find that information. All right, now we're back over here in Kibana or Elastic here, and there is a field in here called host that we can grab here at pastebin.com, which we already know earlier. That's where the communication is going into. So you'll need to grab the host as well as the URI. All right, so the first part is going to be pastebin.com, and then the second part is going to be the URI there. So that should be our answer there. And I forgot the .com in there. So we're done with that one. Next one, a file was accessed on the file sharing site. What is the name of the file accessed? So you'll have to navigate to this, right, and see what it is. And obviously in the real world, you will be doing this in like a lab environment because you don't know what's going to be behind there. All right, and then there's the flag, it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab that and get this ready to go. This is a file. What's the name of the file? I think it was called secret, right? Yeah, secret text. Okay, there we go. And then there's the file or the code there. So we're done with this particular room. Awesome. See why it's called Itsy Bitsy, because this room you can do in like 10 minutes probably, if you know where to look. But if you've been paying attention to my videos, then you should have a good idea of how to look through Elk or some other SIEM tool, or at least figure it out, right? And also you have ChatGPT and other AI chatbots that can assist you with this room, as well as, just straight up Google searching things. But this was a pretty neat room here. I mean, we've covered quite a bit here. Awesome, got gold tickets. We covered quite a bit here in this room. So just to recap here quickly, we took a look at some logs that came in to Elastic, right, to figure out this potential C2 communication. And we found out that it was communicating to Pastebin via the bits admin. Okay. Anyway, so if you want to support the channel, if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know every time I post to the channel. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a nice day, and I will see you later. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos that you can see here, over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review, make it more convenient for you. Anyway, happy defending, happy hacking, enjoy the video. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec back with another video for you guys. Today's video, we are in TryHackMe. This is the SOC Level 1 learning path. This is the Security Information and Event Management module. This is the benign room. Challenge room to investigate a compromised host. Hopefully, you all are as excited as I am to take a look at this challenge room. Before we get into it, if you want to help support the channel, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know every time I post something to the channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's take a look here. Task number 1, introduction. We will investigate host-centric logs in the challenge room to find a suspicious process execution. To learn more about Splunk and how to investigate the logs, look at the room Splunk 101 and Splunk 201, or check out my channel for any rooms on Splunk. And to start the machine here, click this green start machine button. As you can see, I've already done so. For moving forward, deploy the machine. When you deploy the machine, it will be assigned an IP address, which is this here. Access this room via the attack box, which is what I will be using, or via VPN at this IP. The machine will take up to 3 to 5 minutes to start. The required logs are ingested in the index windows or win event logs. So we'll hit complete there and let's check on it. So I've already started up. Okay, so we're ready to go already here. So let's take a look at task number 2 here. Scenario: identify and investigate an affected host. One of the client's IDS indicated a potential suspicious process executing, indicating one of the hosts from the HR department was compromised. Some tools related to network information gathering / scheduled task were executed, which confirmed the suspicion. Due to limited resources, we can only pull the process execution logs from or with event ID 4688 and ingest them into Splunk with the index win_event logs for further investigation. About the network information, the network is divided into 3 logical segments. It will help in the investigations. You have the IT department, which has James, Moen, and Katrina. HR department, Haroon, Chris, and Diana. And you have the marketing department, Belle, Amelia, and Deepak. Okay, cool. So we have the scenario. We have various different questions that we need to run through and answer these via Splunk in the virtual machine there. So go ahead and try to answer these yourself and then come back to the video and we will step through this together. Good luck. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos. You can see here over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review, make it more convenient for you. Anyway, happy defending, happy hacking. Enjoy the video. How many logs are ingested from the month of March 2022? So this one should be pretty straightforward in here. Now all you got to do is use the index equals the name of the index you're going to be using, which was the when event logs. So I'm just going to copy and paste from my notes here. All right, so let's delete this and then paste this in here. And then we need to change this to March 2022. All right, so we have 13,959 events, and this should be our answer here. And let's get rid of this comma. An imposter alert. There seems to be an imposter account observed in the logs. What is the name of that user? Now, these are our usernames up here, so these are the legitimate ones. And it says they're imposters, so they're impersonating one of these users. And let's take a look. Here on the side, we just see various different fields to choose from. And I imagine there's going to be a username field or something. And there we go. It says 11's in here. And if we take a look inside of here, this appears to be all of the users that are showing up, possibly. Now, what you can do is you can pivot off of this, so you can click in here, and let's just grab system here. So we'll delete system, and then we'll put a star in here for all users. and then we'll pipe this into table, and then we'll use username as a column here. Enter, and let's see what comes up here. Anything else of interest? So there's a couple of duplicate entries in here, and there's a ton of pages. So what we can do is add in here called a dedupe. Dedupe. Let's try dedupe username and see if that gets us none out. So okay, so we have 11 here again, and let's go ahead and arrange this here. And right off the bat, we can see that appears that this Amelia one is impersonated with the different characters. So it has an IA here, and this looks like a 1A. So let's go ahead and grab this one here. That appears to be the one that's suspicious. Okay. Which user from the HR department, one of these users, was observed to be running scheduled task. Now with this one, you can do a search on those users from the HR department, as well as do a search on schedule task. So I'm just going to put a duplicate task or a duplicate tab here, and we're going to delete this out of here. We'll get rid of that, and we'll just type in scheduled task abbreviation. So we'll just use scheduled task like so. So anything that has this in it, a reference to this, should be what we're looking for. To pull back events, at least to have this mentioned in there. So let's take a look. And there's username here. Okay. So we need to find the HR user. User from the HR department that was observed using scheduled task. So it's got to be either Haroon, Chris, or Diana, it looks like. And I don't even see. Let's make sure that this is everybody. So we'll just do this star again. Oops, star. Okay. And now let's check username again. See if there's anything in it. It's just this 4. Okay, let's check this Chris guy. He's got one entry here, and it says this is a process creation update.exe on start. So I wonder if this is the Chris guy that we're looking for here. This has to be him because he's creating something per this command line. So this has to be this Chris.fort person. Let's go ahead and grab that and plug it in. Which user from the HR department executed a system process lolbin to download a payload from a file sharing host? Also have there's a hint here as well if you need to use that, and it says they're using a lolbin to download something. So I would Google or ask ChatGPT what lolbins can you use to download things or download payloads, right? But let's go ahead and check. And it says which HR department. Okay, so once again, another user in HR department, and so we got Haroon, Chris, and Diana. Okay, so let's take a look inside of here, and it says update.exe. So I'm wondering if we can just do a search on this and see if anything comes back in the way. So let's try this again, and this is probably the only one that's coming back. Yeah. All right. So let's just get rid of all this here and just take a look at the log information again. And there's lots of things for this command line. So you can look through here and try to determine if you can find that particular information. You may need to have to look through, process names and things of that nature as well. See if anything immediately stands out here. I'm not seeing anything for this, but it had mentioned some names that we can check on. So let's check on Haroon and see if there's anything there. And actually, we can just click on their name. So Haroon's the first one up for discussion here. And let's take a look. 132.calc.xe. All right, so after you do some investigation and sifting through information and events inside of here, we're looking at Haroon. Remember, this is the one that was the first name that appeared in this HR department. But anyway, so we did a search on Haroon, looking at command line and table format, and then reduping the command line as well. And I went ahead and sorted it. Right away, we can see the certutil.exe URL cache -f, and then you can see this URL here. And this appears to be what we are looking for. So if you do a Google search or go to the LOLBins or LOLBins website, you'll see that you can use certutil to accomplish this particular task, right? And it says which user, and we know that this is going to be the user Haroon because this is the user we searched on. Now, if you did not know the user, what you can do is add some additional things here. So we'll add username there. Let's do it this way. We'll do, yeah, we'll put, I think another one was process name, like so. And if we didn't know the user, we can just put this to star, hit enter. A list of everything here. We have additional column here for process name. We have user's name over here. So you could do that. You would basically do the same thing here. You could probably maybe dedupe process name as well. See if that makes a difference. No. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, whatever. Um, so what you can do is once you have this in like an easier format to read through, you could try to sift through and try to determine uh, which particular um, file was used, a low bin binary was used to accomplish this. And we already know the user was Haroon. I believe that was the name of it. So fortunately, we got lucky and it was the first user. And we know that it was certutil to do this. So we need the XE in here. There we go. Okay, so we're done with that one. And let's take a look here. Let's see. You might be able to do something else as well, like, I don't know, since they had mentioned a download, maybe HTTPS or something. See if anything comes back. Yeah, so this got to it quickly. So that's an even faster way to get to it. So basically, you're going to use your brain to try to determine a query that can get you the results here. Okay, there's a lot of trial and error when it comes down to this. Not, a lot of times, it's not going to be straightforward. It says, what's the date that this binary was executed by the infected host? Year, month, date, format. So let's take a look here, and it's not displayed. So we'll probably have to get rid of this. So we'll just do that real quick. Type it in. Now we should get the date. 3/4/2022. Okay, so that should be it here. Let's type that in. 03, and what date was this? The 4th. Uh, okay, yeah, the format's wrong. So let's try this again. If I could type correctly. 03/04. Okay, so we're done with that one. Next one. Which third-party site was accessed to download the malicious payload? Well, we already know that from the command line, and we can see that here in their output here. So it's going to be this controlc.com is what we're looking for. So they're going to this particular domain. What is the name of the file that was saved in the host machine from the C2 server during the post-exploitation phase? And we saw that as well. So it's going to be this benign.exe. So plug that in as our answer. All right. The suspicious file downloaded from the C2 server contained malicious content with the pattern THM, etc. What is the pattern? All right, for this one, pretty much you just visit the website. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. Now, obviously, we are in a lab environment doing this, and this is what you'll be doing in the real world. Let's try the full thing here and see if anything comes back for it. There we go. Agree. So there's the flag right there. So let's go ahead and copy that over. What is the URL that the infected host connected to? So let's, once again, we already know what that URL is, right? It should be that downloaded one. If we go back here, and this should be it. This whole thing is probably what they're looking for here. So let's plug that in as our answer. Here we go. Awesome. And one thing before you get out of this particular room here is that when we had to go back and search for particular users, I'm trying to figure out which tab or which question that was in. Yes, okay. Which user from HR department? So if you have like a list of these users here, Chris and Diana there, what you can do, you can try to do something like this here. So we'll do username instead of equals. We'll say n and then open and close parentheses. And inside here, you can type in your users. And forgot the last person's name, Chris. If I could spell Chris. And gosh, today's just not my day typing. We have those 3 users in there for HR department, and you can go through and take a look here. There's one value for host name. But anyway, so let's go to username, and this should be all of them that comes back. Haroon, once again, comes back as this. Okay. So now that just another way to try to slim this down instead of just doing like something such as, which will pull back everything here. See how many events there are there. Now, if we just do it how we just did it, those specific users, we have way less things to sift through, as you can see there, right? And we already saw that that was the only user that came back inside of here, Haroon. So there we go. Just some things to take into consideration. Anyway, we are done with this video. And as usual, if you want to help support the channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know every time I post to the channel. As always, thank you all for taking the time to watch the video. Have a nice day. I will see you later. And be sure to check the description box of this video for additional resources. Okay, I'll have links to other websites that can assist you, right? There's the complete guide on how to identify suspicious process. There's other websites out here that have cheat sheets, okay, that can help you out. See you later.